ritual impurity, that he is not in a state of tahara, and he's wearing socks, he needs to take them off. He can't wipe over them. And the moment you wear that, and if a person wears wipes over them, he is only or she is only allowed to wipe over them if he is making wudu. But for ghusl, he cannot do it. Ghusl for janaba or for a woman making ghusl for menstruation, it is not allowed. It is a must to take them off. And the fourth thing is that you are given the license to wipe over them. If you are resident, you are only given 24 hours. And if you are in a state of a travel, you are given 72 hours. And if someone asks you, when do you start counting? When does time start? You say, according to the most correct opinion, after wiping over them, after hadath, after ritual impurity. Let me give you an example. Now, a person is in a state of tahara. He is putting on socks. And for al-Maghrib, when he wants to pray Maghrib, he didn't go to the bathroom. He didn't nullify his wudu. He went to make wudu. And he wiped over his socks. And he prayed Maghrib. After Maghrib, he needed to go to the bathroom. And for Isha, he wiped over his socks. He or she wipes over his socks. Now, when should he start count? Should he start from al-Maghrib, or he would start from Isha, or the time between Isha and Maghrib? The first one? La. He should start from Isha. So you start after wiping over the socks after having a nullification. في أول مسح بعد حدث. So it's after wiping over your socks after hadath, so long as it is after hadath. So then you count after Isha. And for example, it is an hour. So it's not, he has the time to wipe over them till Salat al-Isha tomorrow. Not till Salat al-Maghrib, till Salat al-Isha tomorrow, the day after. طيب, when the time ends, whether that person is in a state of a travel or he's in a state of residency, when the time ends, is his wudu or her wudu now nullified? Just merely by the end of the time, your wudu is nullified, as long as you don't have any other nullification. Do you understand? Now a person, he has wiped over his socks for 24 hours and he's still resident, as in the previous example. So now Salat al-Isha in the following day commences. Do we say to him now, you cannot pray Isha until you take them off? Or he can continue? Because he is not in a state of impurity. He is still in a state of purity, but based on wiping over the socks. Does he need to take them off? No. So then the end of the time does not mean that a person's wudu is nullified, because there is no evidence that if the time ends, then you are not allowed, then your wudu is nullified, but you are not allowed to wipe over them again. You're not given the license to wipe over them again. In order to wipe over, you need to take them off. You can't wipe over them again. طيب, if a person starts wiping over them while he is in a state of residency, then he travels. Again, let's stick to this example that we just gave. So he wipes over them for Salat al-Isha, and he has a flight. Let's suppose that he has a flight at 2:30 a.m. Is he going to continue wiping over them as a resident, because he started as a resident, or he is going to continue wiping over them as a traveler? As a traveler, because it is related to the state. Now let's actually converse it.
If he starts wiping over them while he was in a state of a trouble, so he wiped over them when he was in a state of a travel at the time of Salat al-Isha, and his flight is at 2:30. Now he came back home. Let's suppose that by Salat al-Fajr he has come back. Now, is he going to wipe over them 24 hours or 72 hours?
24 hours. 24 hours.
24 hours. Because the ruling is related to what? To the state. It is to the state. لأن الحكم يدور مع العلة. So as long as he is in a state, then the ruling are related to his state. So he started wiping over them as a resident, then he traveled, or he started wiping over them in a state of a travel, then he became resident. The ruling is related to his state, irrespective from the time where he started. طيب. One of the things related to the scholars usually they talk about when they are discussing the issue of wiping over your socks is that when a person has a jabira, sometimes you have what do you call them? Plisters, I think. Huh? Like plisters or bandages. What? مثلا cast, you call them casts. So if a person is actually having a cast on one of the limbs that they need to be washed. Now what's the ruling regarding these? We say that if it is possible to take them off, then that's what a person should do. If there's no harm or there is a delay of healing, then a person is required to take them off. If however there is harm or delay of healing, then a person is given the license to wipe over them. But when you wipe over them, you wipe all over them as opposed to your socks. When you wipe over your socks, you wipe over the upper side of your foot. But when you wipe over these casts, you wipe all over them. So this is one of the differences between them. Secondly, that they don't have time, because it is related to the time you take them off, when you remove them. So then you can wipe over them as long as that there is no need, until you can remove them, whether that it's 1 hour or 20 days. So you can wipe all over them. So then there is no time. Also, it is not necessary that when you put them on that you need to be in a state of tahara, because usually this happens accidentally. A car accident or a person falls or something, then he needs to apply them or wear them. Also, one of the things that we usually discuss when we talk about wiping over the socks and all these related issues is that if you have an injury, if a person actually having an injury, now how should they deal with that? If you have the ability to wash it, this is what is required. If however washing it is going to cause harm or to delay healing, then a person is given the license to wipe over it. Let's suppose that a person does not have the ability to wipe over it. The majority of the scholars, they say that you don't wipe over it, you go and you make tayammum for it. This is the opinion of the majority. They say that if you cannot wash it, if you cannot wipe over it, then you can make tayammum. So after that, after making wudu, after you finish wudu, let's suppose that you have an injury on your hand or on your arm. Now it is time to wash your hands. You cannot. Then you leave the place or the spot of the injury, and then after finishing wudu, you go and you wipe over your head and then you wash your feet. After which you make tayammum. So you don't make tayammum during the time where you miss it, but after making wudu and after finishing the limbs that they need to be washed, you can go and make tayammum. This is the opinion of the majority. albeit I'm not very well convinced with it, because you cannot combine between a thing and its substitute. That's why some ulama argue that it's actually, if you cannot wipe over it, then you can just skip it. You're not required to do anything. You are given the license not to do it. Like, for example, if your hand is cut, are you required to go and make tayammum for it? So it's actually in the same talking. Yani if it is injured, it's as if it is dysfunctional, because you cannot wipe over it. Then it's as if it does not exist. Then you can just skip it. لأن الله يقول فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم. والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إذا أمرتكم بأمر فأتوا منه ما استطعتم. But the majority of the scholars, they are of the opinion that you're gonna make tayammum for it. طيب. One of the things also related to wiping is that if a man is wearing a turban, if a man is wearing a turban, is he given the license to wipe over it? The most correct opinion is yes. He is given the license to wipe over it. Is it required that he wears it while he's in a state of tahara? No, because there is no evidence for it. Is there a time for it? That he is only limited to 24 hours if resident and 72 hours if traveler? The answer is no. So he can wipe over it as long as he is wearing it. There is no limit on the time that he can wipe over it, as long as he is wearing it, according to the most correct opinion. And for this turban to be wiped over, a person can wipe over it if it is difficult to take off. But if wearing like this, مثلا taqiyya, wearing like this, يعني shimag, it's not difficult to wipe over it. If it is difficult to wipe over it, if it is tight, then he is given the license to wipe over it. What about women wearing khimar? What about women wearing khimar? Can they wipe over it? The answer is yes, as long as it is difficult to take it off. So if it is tied strongly, or that it is cold, if you take it off, a person might be hurt, then she is given the license to wipe over it, according to the most correct opinion. Any questions so far? So these are essentially basic rulings related to wiping. Any question? No question? طيب. So let's then move on to the nullifications of wudu, the things that they nullify wudu. First and foremost, with unanimous agreement, urine, yani if a person urinates or defecates, there is a unanimous agreement that the wudu is nullified. Unanimous agreement. There is no disagreement whatsoever. Because Allah Ta'ala says, فَمَنْ جَاءَ مِنْكُمْ يقول تعالى فَمَنْ جَاءَ مِنْكُمْ مِنَ الْغَائِطِ أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. Al-gha'it, this is a polite way to say a person urinates or defecates. So then the first and foremost, that thing which would nullify your wudu is the nullification, is the urination or defecation. طيب. Also, one of the things that there is a unanimous agreement that the nullify your wudu is the what we call madhi. Al-madhi. Al-madhi is a pre-ejaculatory fluid. Usually it happens out of desire. When a person has strong desire, it happens. It is going to nullify wudu unanimously, and this is for men and women. Then the fourth thing is what we call al-wadi. Al-wadi. Al-wadi usually happens for men. It occurs for men. Usually it occurs after urination, or if a person is sick. If he's sick, or if he makes a lot of exercises, physical effort, or under stress, psychological stress. Some men that they have it. After they urinate, they will have it. So this what we call wadi. This wadi, it nullifies wudu unanimously. So now we have urine, defecation, and madhi and wadi. They all nullify a person's wudu. طيب. What about for women that they have things that they يعني نحن نسميها رطوبات فرج المرأة, يعني the things that they come from the private part of women. Are these going to nullify or not? The ulama rahimahullah differed, يعني not included in these. The ulama rahimahullah differed. The opinion of the majority that they are going to be nullifiers, and the most correct opinion is that these are not nullifiers. So then رطوبات فرج المرأة, these are not nullifiers. They like sweating, so they won't be considered as nullifiers. Also, one of the things that they are considered as nullifying, the eating the meat of camel. According to the most correct opinion, if a person eats the meat of camel, then he needs to make wudu. The wudu is nullified. Not preferable, the wudu is completely nullified. He needs to make wudu, because we have two hadiths regarding this issue. We have hadith Jabir ibn Samurah, and we have also hadith Hudayfa radiyallahu anhu, hadith al-Bara ibn Azib. We have two hadiths regarding this issue. Also, one of the things that they nullify al-wudu, arguably, is touching the private part. If a person touches the private part, especially men, is that a correct opinion or not? The most correct opinion is that it is recommendable, especially if it is touched with desire. Then it is highly recommendable. It is not obligatory that a person needs to renew his wudu without obligation, unless that something gets out. Then definitely he needs to make wudu. طيب, what about touching women from men? If a man touches women, is he required to make wudu? لا. According to the most correct opinion, as opposed to a Shafi'i. Shafi'i is of the opinion that if a man touches women, he needs to make wudu. The most correct opinion, which is the opinion of the majority, that he does not need to make wudu. Definitely he does not need to make wudu, unless something gets out. If he touches her with desire, then it is recommendable to make wudu. طيب. Also, one of the things that arguably going to make a person needs to make wudu, some ulama argued that if a person وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ apostatizes, then he returns back. If a person apostatizes, let's suppose that he prayed dhuhr, and after he prayed dhuhr, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, he apostatizes, and after let's suppose that after Maghrib, someone argued with him until he was convinced, then he came back. For whatever reason, he got brainwashed, then he returned back. Now, does he need to renew his wudu? Some ulama say that he needs to make wudu, to renew his wudu. They say that the ridda, apostasy, is a cause for the nullification of wudu. But the most correct opinion is that he does not need to renew his wudu, because only the deeds going to be nullified for a person who apostatizes if he dies. So therefore he does not need to make wudu. طيب. What about a person who sleeps? What about sleeping? Is it a cause to renew your wudu? The most correct opinion is that if a person sleeps deeply, up to the extent that something gets out, he does not feel it, then he is required to make wudu. Otherwise, it won't be a nullifier. So then light sleeping is not a cause to renew your wudu. But if it is deep sleeping, yani if something gets out, a person does not feel it, then he is required to make wudu. But what about if a person is in coma? If he is in coma, for whatever reason he had a coma, he had a car accident, he fell from something, then he is in a state of coma. So now he is in a state of coma, it took him about 4 hours, then he woke up. Does he need to make wudu? We say if we ask him to make wudu for sleeping, then coma by default. If you say that if you have deep sleeping, you need to make wudu, then coma by default. Then yes, if a person is in a state of coma, when he wakes up, he needs to renew his wudu. He needs to make wudu. It's a nullification. But what about if a person gets drunk? If he gets drunk, does he need to make wudu? Again, if that drunkenness up to the level that, as we usually say, that he rents the upper part of his body, if it's completely gone, then yes, he needs to renew his wudu, because he looks like a person who is in a state of sleep. He's losing his mind. But if he, understand what's going on, he is just, it makes him happy, enjoying in a state of joy, joyfulness. He's in a state of joyfulness. Then he does not need to renew his wudu. It's not a nullification, because it is related to losing the mind. And also one of the things that they are also unanimously going to be in nullifiers, gazing. Definitely. It's going to make a person in need to renew his wudu. So these are essentially the basic things related to the nullification of wudu. Who can repeat them? Who could repeat them? Here. You. Yeah, you. 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 Yes. Repeat the nullifications of wudu. The nullifiers of al-wudu.
The nullifiers will be if
the obvious. Just start with the obvious. The one that is very well known, even for your children.
If you use the bathroom,
If I use the bathroom, taking shower.
if you have wudu, then it does affect it because you're touching your body.
If I touch my body, we just established that touching the private parts is not enough to nullify your wudu. That's what we have just established. But if a person urinates, urinates, so not just using the bathroom, and not to be too vague, because just using the bathroom, I might use, some women that they go to the bathroom to make makeup. So just be specific, so that nobody is going to understand something different.
Deep sleep.
Yes, deep sleep.
When someone they sleep. And
Yes. Yeah.
That one as well.
طيب. لا, not when they sleep, not when they say. This is called ihtilam. If it is ihtilam, then they need to make ghusl. This is ghusl. طيب. Yes, over there.
What if someone is, especially for the elders who are incontinent, they have like bowel issues? What's the ruling?
If they have constant urine, it keeps مثلا dropping.
Or gas.
أي نعم. A good question. We call this sort of nullifier, we call it a constant nullifier. In a state of constant nullifier, a person is only required to make wudu for each time of prayer. So he's not required to make wudu constantly, but every time the time of salah commences, then he's required to make wudu. If he finds it difficult to do so, then he can combine. he can combine between Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha and يعني Fajr to pray alone. Some ulama argued actually he is not required to make wudu for each time commences, but if his wudu is nullified by other than that constant nullifier, then he is required to make wudu. But according to the most correct opinion, that he needs to make wudu each time, يعني for each prayer time commences. أين يلا what else? Hi Harun. One of the nullifiers.
Going into a coma.
A person is in a state of coma. Good. What else? Over there.
Touching wife with desire.
Not necessarily wife. Women, we say. Okay? Women.
Halal.
Yeah? لا, it might be haram. Right? It might be haram. If he touches her in a haram way, he is sinful. But does he need to make wudu? لا. لا, he's not required to make wudu. Yes?
Does this count if either it's like skin to skin? If the man touches the body of a woman like skin to skin,
Yes. Yes, yeah, and without barrier. Yeah, without barrier.
that is a nullifying.
لا, it does not nullify your wudu.
It doesn't?
It does not nullify your wudu. Because when Allah Ta'ala says أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاء, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he says أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاء, he says يعني touching women, يعني having intimacy. It's not just touching. Because Allah Ta'ala started with pointing the things that will nullify your wudu, then he now here is talking about the things that they will nullify your state of that you need major ritual impurity, and he's talking about janabah. Because he's saying أَوْلَا مَسْتُمْ that this is just repetitive. That's why the most correct opinion for the interpretation of Allah Ta'ala saying أَوْلَا مَسْتُمُ النِّسَاء يعني to have intimacy. That's the most correct opinion.
So if I'm in the office and another coworker rubs a pen and I have my wudu and he by mistake touches my skin, that doesn't...
لا, does not make wudu. Does not make wudu. Even if it's not mistaken, if it's intentionally done, يعني that does not nullify wudu. Okay? But what about vomiting? What about bleeding? It doesn't. Bleeding. Does it nullify your wudu? La. We're not talking about, look, we're not talking about the impurity of the blood. We're talking about the bleeding. If a person bleeds, according to the most correct opinion, it does not nullify. Yes, it is. We encourage a person, if he bleeds, to make wudu in order to be refreshed, but not to make wudu because his state of impurity is nullified. طيب, any question?
What about the vomiting?
Vomiting is not a nullifier. Vomiting is not a nullifier. But again, a person is encouraged if he gets weak after vomiting to make wudu, to be refreshed, not because his state of impurity is nullified. Yes.
A tangent, but you mentioned, if you shake, if you touch non-mahram women, you won't break the
Mahram, non-mahram.
tangent is like handshakes.
Hmm?
You shake hands, like a small tangent, but you shake hands with a non-mahram.
If you hug, not only if you shake hands, if you hug, okay? If you hug, this is not going to nullify your wudu, and as long as nothing gets out. Okay? Okay? With a non-mahram or with a mahram? Yes. If she is non-mahram, then definitely this is not allowed. If she is mahram, then hugging according to the most correct opinion. If she is adult, if she is reaching the age of puberty, then it's not allowed to hug. But you can shake. But you don't hug. Nor also you are allowed to kiss. The ulama rahimahullah differed regarding the daughter. Can you kiss the daughter even if she is adult? And the most correct opinion is yes. But you don't kiss it on the, what do you call this? The cheek. But you can kiss it on the forehead. Because the Prophet ﷺ did it, as it is reported for Sahihain. The Prophet ﷺ used to sit. While he is sitting, Fatima would come. This is what Aisha radiallahu anha reported. This is a hadith al-Zuhri and Urwa and Aisha. When the Prophet ﷺ sees Aisha coming, he would stand, sees Fatima comes. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says that when she walks, she looks like the Prophet ﷺ when he walks. She said radiallahu anha, he would stand up for her. Then he would move forward and he would ﷺ get her head and he would kiss her on her forehead. He will take her, put her in his place. She used to do the same to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is an evidence that you can kiss your daughter, but you can kiss her on the forehead. You don't kiss on the cheek, let alone on the يعني mouth. ما يفعل هذا, even if she is your daughter. No.
Does that apply to women too, or just men? Does that apply to men only or women too?
Like a mother and her son.
Like a mother and her
إيه نعم, yeah. يعني the son he would kiss the forehead or the head of his mother, and also he can kiss her hand.
What about hugging? Hugging the mother.
Hugging the mother is the default is allowed. The default is allowed, definitely. لا the aunt لا. You don't hug.
So when you say hugging,
Especially the hug. لكن you can get close, but you don't hug. نعم.
so Sheikh, when you say hugging your mahram, it depends on what mahram. So
لا, it's you can hug your daughter and kiss your daughter. لكن you don't do it for مثلا your aunt مثلا. نعم, or your niece. نعم. طيب. So any questions so far? Yes, over there. Yeah, there. Yeah, go ahead. لا, as long as there is nothing getting out, then it does not break wudu. This is the most correct opinion. لمس المرأة لا ينقض الوضوء. Yes.
If there's blood on your clothes, are you able to pray with that or not?
If there is a blood on your clothes,
Let's say your hand is cut.
Yeah.
The blood goes on your
yes. If it is just it's not that much.
If it's a, what is
If it is يقول ابن عباس, to each his own. If you consider it a lot, if you see it a lot, then go and wash it. If it's just some spots, some spots here and there, you're not required to take them. Because the blood, according to the most correct opinion, is impure. But if it is it's not that much, Sharia makes it easy. It is impure, but it forgives. يعفى عن يسيره. Yes.
How long do you have if you showered and did your wudu and before you wear the socks? How long do you have in between? Do you have to
لا, whatever. Let's suppose that you made wudu after Fajr, and you stayed for the whole day in that state of tahara. Okay, and then for the Fajr, you're still in a state of tahara. You didn't go to the bathroom. You can wear your socks. As long as you wear them while you are in a state of tahara, whether that you just made wudu or took you 7-8 hours. Yes, the last question, so that we can continue. Yes. If I make in what?
If you make ghusl, do you need to come to wudu?
لا, if you make ghusl, this is enough. You don't need to make wudu anymore. As long as you are making, but look, if you are making ghusl for janaba, if you are making ghusl for janaba or making ghusl for menstruation, but if you're just making ghusl to clean your body, لا, you need to make wudu. Okay, so then if you are making ghusl for janaba or making ghusl for menstruation, then then it's enough. You don't need to make wudu as long as you are making madmada and istinshaq. If however you're just taking ghusl before some people before they go to swim, they take ghusl, or after swimming they take ghusl, they make ghusl مثلا, or it's hot and they make ghusl. لا, if they don't make wudu, it does not lift up hadith. It does not remove hadith. You still need to make wudu. طيب, let's continue. So then we talked about wiping over the socks and the related rulings, and then we talked about the rulings related to the nullifications of wudu. Now let's talk about tayammum. Tayammum is one of the rulings that Allah Ta'ala legislated in case a person does not find water, or he finds water but finds it difficult to use. Either that a person is going to be harmed if he uses water for making wudu, or it's going to delay healing. So either that he does not find water, or using water is going to cause harm. For example, if he uses water, he would stay the whole day thirsty. So then, if a person does not have water, or using water going to bring about harm, Sharia allows him to make what we call tayammum. Now, what is tayammum? Is that a person would go to soil or dirt, sand, anything that is part of earth, and then he will hit it. He will hit it. One hit. And then a person would wipe over his face, and then he would wipe over his hands, the upper part of his palm. One on the right and one on the left. So now let's suppose that we have a person just made a surgery. He made a surgery and he is just laying on his back in the hospital. He can't make wudu. He can't make wudu. Nobody is there to help him, nor he can do it. Nobody. You know, the nurse is not Muslim, and he can't make it. So what he is given as a license, he's allowed to use dirt, where he can just hit it once, wipe over his face, then wipe over his upper palms once. قال الله تعالى فإن لم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا. Alright? Then tayammum is essentially that a person lacking water or missing water or using water going to bring about harm in any shape or form, then he is given the license to do this tayammum that we have just mentioned. Now, if a person makes tayammum, the moment that water is available, the reason for him to use water is not to make tayammum is not there. There is water, مثلا. He was lacking water, now he finds water. If this is the case, then immediately he needs to make wudu. That's first. Secondly, tayammum is not only for making wudu. Even if a person is in a state of janabah and he does not find water, then he is also given the license to make tayammum in the same description. أعطينا هذا. جزاك الله خيرا. So then, even if a person needs tayammum for major ritual purity, he can make it. And the tayammum, some ulama said that it's not going to remove your ritual impurity. It's only going to allow you to do that which is required to be, in order for it to be done, it is required to be in a state of tahara. مثلا, for them, if you make tayammum, according to this second opinion, if you are making tayammum, you just make tayammum to pray. If you would like to make another prayer, you need to make tayammum. I'd like to touch al-mushaf, you need to make tayammum. You'd like to enter al-masjid, you need to make tayammum. If a person is in a state of janabah, مثلا, or if she's in a state of menstruation and she's now pure. So for them, that for every action you need to do, whether it is required to make wudu or to make ghusl, you need to make tayammum. But according to the most correct opinion is that making tayammum removes the ritual impurity. It removes it. ليس مبيح. It does not only give you the license, it removes it. Okay? Any question? Any question regarding tayammum? Yes.
So if you're traveling and you need to make a ghusl, do you make, and you don't have dirt, what do you do? Like in a plane, like airplane.
If you are in an airplane and you don't have water, مثلا a person is in a state that he needs water and he does not have water.
Or there, I mean, you want to do a ghusl, but you can't do it because.
Yeah, if you okay, now you cannot make ghusl by water, nor there is a dirt,
Yeah,
and you cannot combine that prayer like you want land.
yeah, because you're traveling.
يعني مثلا you're gonna it is صلاة الفجر,
Yeah,
then you pray the way you are.
okay.
No,
So you don't do tayammum?
if there is nothing to make tayammum on, there's no. You can argue, as some scholars, that they say that as-sa'id is anything made of earth.
Right.
So for them, you would argue that the table essentially is going to be made of earth. Yeah, and you cannot. It is going to be made of earth. And now most scientists actually, or all scientists, they say that we are star stuff. Yani anything on this earth is actually made of. Anything now we find, any chemical reaction that produces something else is going to end up made of earth. Okay? فإذا for them even مثلا carbon and all of its types is made of earth. Even iron, helium, hydrogen, lithium. All these, they say that they are made of earth. Yes, they come from the sun through the, when it's, have nebula, then, the formation of earth according to their theory. But it does not mean that they are still not made of earth. They are of the same materials. They are going to end up being of the same materials. So if you are in that state where you are just desperate in this situation, then there is no problem of just, having the table. And it's, just in this scenario, you can have the table, you can hit it, and you make tayammum. Any question? No question regarding tayammum?
So we can only make tayammum anything from the earth?
Yes, anything made of earth, as opposed to some ulama. Some ulama, they say that it's only dirt. Only dirt. Like in the most correct opinion is that it's anything made of earth. And مثلا the wall, as long as it is but this is not made of earth, the wall here, because of the painting. The painting is not made of earth, technically. But if it's, still, you have the bricks, they are not yet, what do you call this? Before painting, but when you put this, cement, before they are cemented, and then they're gonna, a lot of applications before you paint it. So if it is still bricks, or the wall is made of mud, and then you can actually hit it. Actually, the Prophet ﷺ made it. The Prophet ﷺ once made it. He hit the wall. Hadith Abi Jahl, Hadith Sahih al-Bukhari. He ﷺ once made tayammum by hitting the wall because it was made of mud. The bricks, they were made of mud. Now,
let's say one uses tayammum and then prays, and then after that, after salah, he sees water.
نعم.
Does he need to make up the prayer?
لا. He does not need to make up the prayer, because now, in this situation, as usually the scholars that they discuss it, they say that we have four possibilities. That a person makes tayammum, then he before praying he finds water. Then unanimously they say that he needs to make that he needs to use water. If he makes tayammum, pray, then he finds water. He finds water after he prayed, but still in time. يعني مثلا الآن he prayed Asr, he didn't find water, he used tayammum, then he prayed Asr. Before the sun set, he finds water. Is he required to make it up? لا. He's not required to make it up. But if he makes tayammum, then he prays on time. After praying on time, he finds water after the time, then is he required to make it up? No, he's not required to make it up. فإذن, only if he makes tayammum before praying, he finds water during the time, he's required to make it. Yani to use water. He's not allowed to pray with the purity used by tayammum. طيب. Then now we're going to go to talk about menstruation. The rulings related to menstruation. And there are a lot of issues related to menstruation. First of all, so we still have time? Still have time. So, first of all, when we're talking about menstruation, it's a natural blood. It's a natural blood, comes from women. Usually, it has a monthly cycle. Usually. That blood, if it happens naturally, if woman bleeds naturally, that there is no cause for that bleeding, then automatically we're going to consider it to be hayd, menstruation. These are menses, as long as it happens naturally. طيب. If she is in a state of pregnancy and then she sees blood, is that going to be considered menstruation, or actually, as we usually call it, corrupted blood, quote unquote? Yes, we would consider it to be corrupted blood, because a woman in a state of pregnancy, she does not menstruate. She does not menstruate. Okay? Now, the moment that a woman menstruates, according to the most correct opinion, whenever she bleeds, naturally, we would consider that blood to be what? Menstruation. Even if it does not last 24 hours. Even if it is less than 24 hours, we're going to consider it to be hayd. However, she does not have bleeding in a month more than 3 times. Yani, if she sees blood and then she gets pure, even if it's less than 24 hours, within a month, more than three times, then the 4th time is going to be considered corrupted. Yani, she would pray, and all the rulings that they would ensue, because that she is in a state of purity. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay. طيب. What is the longest, يعني how long could hayd stay? يعني what is the longest period for it? Some ulama say that it's 13 days. Some ulama say that it's 15 days. Some ulama said that as long as it does not last until 28 days, then we would consider it to be hayd. And according to the most comfortable opinion, not the most correct opinion, the most comfortable opinion is that hayd does not last more than 15 days. Okay? So hayd cannot last, in order to consider it hayd, it does not last more than 15 days. يعني the bleeding after 15 days is going to be considered istihada, we call it. It's constant bleeding. We would call it istihada. Okay? طيب. What is the least amount time between, or the least period between 2 menstruations? We say that there is no limit. She could have hayd today, then after 3 months she sees hayd. Then after 3 months, for whatever reason, she will see it after a year. Some women, this is what happens to them. That's why hayd, has changes. يسمى بالطوارئ على الحيض. It has emergencies. Sometimes, it changes in the number of days. She has a habit to menstruate 6 or 7 days. 1 month it changes. It shrinks to 3 days. Sometimes it lasts for 11, 13 days. Also, one of the changes that happens to the menstruation is that it used to happen مثلا at the beginning of the month. It turned to be in the middle of the month. So these are changes. Whatever change happen to the menstruation, it's going to be considered menstruation. That's why we say that there is no least amount between the two menstruations. There is no least amount of the two menstruations. However, she does not, it is not legislatively possible to have more than 3 menstruations in a month. طيب. Now, if she menstruates, we say that if she menstruates, the ruling of menstruation is related to bleeding, not the contracts, or the, what do you call the contractions, not the what she feels. The ruling is related to the bleeding. She needs to see the blood. If she sees the blood, then the rulings are going to be applicable. How does she know that she is now in a state of purity? Now she is not considered menstruating in a state of menstruation. We say that she is going to be considered in a state of purity if she sees a fluid, a white fluid. We call it al-qassa al-bayda. If she sees that white fluid, it means that menstruation has ceased. Even if she sees blood after, even if she sees sufra and kudra, even if still it's not as it's yellowish, reddish, grayish, even these are not going to be considered menstruation. هذا يسمى الصفرة والكدرة. تقول أم عطية رضي الله عنها: كنا لا نعد الصفرة والكدرة بعد الطهر شيئا. After bleeding ceased, we used not to consider الصفرة the yellowish thing, the grayish thing, these the reddish thing. We use not to consider it to be menstruation. It means that they pray, they can enter al masjid, and so on and so forth. طيب. Now, what would ensue as a consequence of a woman being in a state of menstruation? A lot of rulings. She could inherit or not inherit because of menstruation. She could be divorced or not divorced because of menstruation. First and foremost, if a woman is in a state of menstruation, then she cannot pray unanimously. If a woman is in a state of menstruation, then she cannot fast unanimously. However, for prayer, she won't make them up. For fasting, she will make them up unanimously. Also, one of the rulings is that if she is in a state of menstruation, according to the most correct opinion, she is not divorced. ما يقع الطلاق. If she's in a state of menstruation, then her husband says طلقها, he divorces her. It's as if nothing happens, according to the most correct opinion. If also one of the rulings is that if she's in a state of menstruation, the majority of ulama, they say that she cannot recite Quran. She can remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but she cannot recite Quran. Also, one of the rulings related to menstruation, although that this opinion is not what is preponderant. According to the most correct opinion, that she can recite Quran. She can recite Quran. Can she enter a masjid or not? She's in a state of menstruation. Can she enter a masjid?
She can enter so long as she's not sitting, right?
So she will stand. Yeah. You mean that she is not settled? According to the most correct opinion, she can enter a masjid. She can enter a masjid as long as she is not. As long as that she is not filthifying a masjid. She needs to make sure that no blood. Okay. طيب, one of the things that she is also prohibited from is not to make tawaf if she's in a state of menstruation, she is not allowed to make tawaf. Not because to make tawaf you need to be in a state of tahara, no, but because she is not allowed to enter al-masjid. Okay, because it is not for her. She should not enter al-masjid. فإذا it is she should not make tawaf. طيب, what about a situation? She comes and she says, my flight is just about in 10 hours and I will miss my group and I can't afford, I barely return back to my home. I can't afford it. I can't afford to miss it if I stay for 2 or 3 days and then I book another flight. What do we say to her? No problem. You can go and make tawaf. Okay? Don't make your life hard. إذا ضاق الأمر اتسع. It's easy, bihamdillah. You can go and make tawaf. Does she need to make them? لا, not at all. She can just go and she can she can make tawaf. Also, one of the rulings related to ministrations, if she ministrates, it means that her iddah is going to be counted by ministration. And if she is divorced, then her iddah is by 3 ministrations. If she is divorced for the first time, for the second time, her iddah is going to be 3 ministrations. However, if it is divorced for the third time, then her iddah is only 1 ministration. Just we want to make sure that she's not pregnant. Okay? Then her iddah is counted by hayd if she ministrates. If she is, however, not in a, if she is in a, if she does not ministrate out of sickness because she is elderly, her menstruation ceased, then her iddah is going to be by 3 months. Her iddah, if she is divorced, it's going to be by 3 months. طيب. What about if she is not actually divorced? If the aqd is nullified or she is making khul'. Khul' she is the one requesting the separation. Then according to the most correct opinion, she needs only one ministration, not only 1 month. 1 ministration, it might take a year. It might take 1 day. So we need her just to ministrate once, because the idea is what's the rationale behind the legislation? To make sure that she's not pregnant. Okay, in order not to mix children, to make sure that she's not pregnant. طيب, if she is pregnant and then